In the NBA, the playoffs don't just decide who wins rings. They decide who keeps their jobs. Last postseason, 2 teams actually fired their coaches before the playoffs even started. And we're already 2 games into this first round, with chaos unfolding in real time. Today, I'm breaking down 5 NBA head coaches whose jobs end if their team loses this series. Some of them are already in free fall. Let's get into it. At number 5, Nick Nurse, Philadelphia 76ers. Nurse came to Philly in 2023 as a championship-winning coach. He won the 2019 title with Toronto, and the Sixers expected him to finally push Joel Embiid past the second round. That hasn't happened. Last season ended 24-58, one of the worst years the franchise has had in decades. This season, Philly bounced back, but only to the 7th seed, and they had to survive the play-in tournament just to get here. Now they're facing Boston, and it's been a roller coaster. They got blown out by 32 in Game 1 without Embiid, who's sidelined with appendicitis. They did bounce back in Game 2 behind 59 combined points from Tyrese Maxey and VJ Edgecombe to tie the series. If you're enjoying the breakdown so far, smash that like button. It genuinely helps the channel more than you'd think. But here's the problem for Nurse. 3 straight years now, the Sixers have underperformed in the playoffs. If Embiid returns and they still lose this series, the front office has to seriously ask whether another offseason with Nurse is actually moving the needle. His seat is the coolest on this list, but it's not cold. At number 4, Tiago Splitter, Portland Trail Blazers. And this one is the strangest situation in the entire league. Splitter isn't even technically the permanent coach. He's the interim. He took over before the second game of the regular season after Chauncey Billups was arrested by the FBI as part of a federal gambling investigation. From there, Splitter led the Blazers to a 42-40 record and their first playoff appearance in 5 years. He just won Game 2 in San Antonio, 106-103, to even the series against the Spurs. Scoot Henderson dropped a playoff career-high 31 points. So why is he on a hot seat list? Because the new owner, Tom Dundon, is already talking to outside candidates. Reports say Dundon has held dialogue with around 20 international and college coaches. He also apparently wants to pay the next head coach only $1.5 million a year. That's less than half the NBA standard of about $4 million. Here's the trap for Splitter. If the Blazers lose this series, Dundon has every excuse to bring in his own cheaper guy. If they somehow beat the Spurs, Splitter might get the permanent job, but only at a salary well below what he's earned. It's a no-win situation built by an owner who's already moved on. At number 3, Jamahl Mosley, Orlando Magic. Before this series started, Mosley was the consensus hottest seat in the NBA. Orlando spent 4 first-round picks to acquire Desmond Bane last offseason specifically to contend for a title. Instead, the trio of Paolo Banchero, Franz Wagner, and Bane never gelled offensively. The Magic fell to the play-in. Reports even surfaced that communication between Banchero and Mosley had broken down during timeouts. Then Game 1 happened. Orlando walked into Detroit and beat the top-seeded Pistons 112-101 wire-to-wire. It was the first time in the play-by-play era that a number 1 seed never once led in its own playoff opener. Banchero put up 23 and 9. Franz Wagner scored 11 in the fourth quarter alone to hold off the Pistons. The storyline immediately flipped from Mosley is gone to Mosley just saved his job. Which of these 5 coaches do you think actually gets fired first? Drop it in the comments. I'm curious where the disagreement is. But here's the catch. 1 game doesn't reset a season. If Detroit adjusts and wins 4 of the next 6, Orlando still looks like an 8 seed that got 1 lucky Sunday. Mosley still hasn't proven he can take this core where the front office paid 4 first-round picks to go. He needs to actually win this series, or the same front office that sold the farm for Bane is going to make Mosley the scapegoat. At number 2, Ime Udoka, Houston Rockets. And this is the one that might already be over. Houston added Kevin Durant last offseason with championship expectations. Instead, Bill Simmons publicly put Udoka on his hot seat list before the playoffs even started. Simmons said he would be very unsurprised if Udoka wasn't the Rockets coach next year. Why? The chemistry was off all year. There were multiple reports linking Durant to burner accounts criticizing teammates Jabari Smith and Alperen Sengun, and the half-court offense was basically iso ball with no counter when teams blitzed Durant. Now look at what's happening in this series. Game 1. Rockets shoot 37% from the field and lose 107-98 to a Lakers team missing both Luka and Austin Reaves. After the game, Charles Barkley went on ESPN and called out Udoka for a lack of offensive innovation. Game 2. Durant returns from a bone bruise. Rockets still lose, 101-94. They're now down 0-2 to a short-handed opponent they were supposed to bulldoze. If Houston gets swept or loses this series to an injured Lakers roster, Ime Udoka's time as head coach of the Rockets is almost certainly finished. And at number 1, Mike Brown, New York Knicks. Stop me if you've heard this one before. The Knicks have high expectations. The coach makes the wrong call in a big moment. And suddenly there's a job opening at Madison Square Garden. Brown wasn't even the Knicks' top choice last offseason. He got the job because the first options fell through. The Knicks won 53 games this year, grabbed the 3rd seed, and Brown actually broke Pat Riley's franchise record for wins by a first-year Knicks coach. Owner James Dolan has publicly declared this a championship round or bust season. Then Monday night happened. The Knicks led Atlanta by 14 at one point in the 4th quarter. At home, against the 6th seed. And Brown chose to start the 4th with bench players Landry Shamet and Mitchell Robinson instead of Jalen Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns. The Hawks went on a run. Brown never stabilized it. When the Knicks got the ball back down by 1 with 5.6 seconds left, Brown didn't call a timeout. He thought he had one left that the team didn't actually have. Mikal Bridges missed a contested fadeaway at the buzzer. Hawks win, 107-106. Series tied. According to CBS Sports, the Knicks hadn't blown a home playoff lead that big with that little time left since 1994. And here's the kicker. Mike Brown was literally fired 31 games into his last head coaching job in Sacramento, 1 year after winning Coach of the Year. If the Knicks lose this series to a 6th seed after blowing a home game they had in hand, Mike Brown is not walking back into the Garden next October. 5 coaches, 5 jobs on the line, and we're only 2 games in. The pressure is only going to get more brutal from here. If you want breakdowns like this as the playoffs keep evolving, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Appreciate you watching. I'll see you next time.